Good morning and welcome, fellow travelers. Welcome to another installment of the Dirty Shoes podcast. I am Chris, your fellow sojourner. Good morning to you. I'm excited this morning. It's about 6:30 in the morning as of the time of this recording, and I am excited about what I want to talk about. Um, Listen, it's 2024. It's a new year. I hope it's off to a great start for you, that it's off to a very intentional start for you today. And that's really what I want to share from my heart with you about being intentional. Um, Once again, our email is open. If you've got stories to share, if today's talk resonates with you, send me your stories. Hey, send me a shout out to dirtyshoes02@gmail.com. I love to hear stories. I love to learn from other people. This in and of itself, this podcast is a sort of a journey in and of itself. So it is exciting to me to take this journey with you, to learn from you, to hear your story, and again, perhaps someday share it if you're willing to allow me to do that. All right. Last time you heard from me, I talked about step off. Take that first step on your journey of life. I think today we'll kind of piggyback on that. And really, what I want to talk about is the urgency of moving forward. The urgency. You need to go. You need to do it now. That's the main thing I'm really feeling in my heart for my own life. I think if you're listening to me right now, and I know you're listening to this podcast at just the right moment in life, where you need someone to say, "Hey, it's either now or never. It's either now or never. We've got to get this done." Something is burning in your heart, saying, "We've got to do something. We've got to get this done." One of my favorite movies. I'm a Rocky fan. I've seen all of the Rocky movies. I've enjoyed them to varying degrees, but I'll never forget this scene from Rocky 3. If some of you are my age and you remember that movie, this was before Creed. There's a scene where Apollo is training Rocky to face the biggest opponent of his career at that time, this guy Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T. And Apollo is encouraging Rocky, our hero. They're in the gym. He's trying to push Rocky to move forward, but Rocky can't get past his own past. Rocky can't get out of his own way. He'd recently lost his trainer. He had recently been defeated by this opponent, this foe. And so Rocky is filled with all kinds of self-doubt, uncertainty, loss, and confusion. And Apollo is seeking to push him. He's looking to push Rocky in his training. He believes in Rocky, but Apollo can't do it for him. Let me say that again to somebody. Apollo can't do it for him. Rocky's got to want to do it. And I'll never forget, Rocky stops the training and he says, "We'll do it tomorrow. We'll try again tomorrow." And Apollo screams at him, "There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow, friend." That's really what I'm dealing with in my own life. I've come to a point in my life where it's really now or never. And I think somebody can really resonate with that. So I'm going to share with you 10 things that kind of hit my heart this morning. Then I'll get out of your way and let you go on with your day. Number one, you've got to stop hand wringing. Stop wringing your hands, friend. I'm a notorious hand wringer. I'll never forget, before my grandmother died, we shared some great moments. My favorite place in the world was Grandma's kitchen. Number one, some of the best cooking in the world took place in Grandma's kitchen, but it was also the place, it was kind of Grandma's meeting place where she kind of talk with her children and her grandchildren, sharing her wisdom and her nuggets. And I'll never forget, it had been probably not too long after my first wife died. And I'll never forget my grandmother and I are sitting at her kitchen table. And she says, you know the difference between you and your brother, Chris? Your brother is like your dad. He'll just say the heck with it. He'll just say the heck with it and just go on and do what he wants to do, whatever it is, for better or for worse. But you're a lot like your Uncle Richard. You will reflect and contemplate and wring your hands. And it's just because of the love you have, the love you have for people. She told me, Chris, you've got to be a little more selfish. You've got to begin to do some things for you. All your life, I've watched you care more about other people than yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. But son, you've got to be a little bit more selfish, and you've got to wring your hands a little bit less. So if you're like me and you're a notorious hand wringer, you've got to stop wringing your hands. You've got to get on with it. You won't have all the answers. You can, what's it called? Paralysis by analysis. You've got to get moving today. You've got to get moving right now. You already know what you have to do. You already know. You already know the answers to the questions you keep asking. But you just got to move forward. You're not going to have all the answers today. They'll come. They will come. I've already begun that process. They'll come. Work with what you have. You know, if you're like me, I don't give advice a lot, and that's not the intent of this broadcast or this episode today, and that's not the intent of this podcast at all. It's about us exploring life together, sharing stories, and taking this journey together and encouraging each other along the way. But what I had to learn to get this thing going is to just work with what I have. I don't have a fancy studio. I have my closet. And I have these blankets and everything so you can hear me as well as I can allow you to do it. But I knew one thing. I needed to get going. I'm a person of faith, and I'll put it this way. God would not allow me to sleep until I just started working with what I had. And I hope it's encouraging you. And we'll grow. We'll get better along the way. This next one is related to that. You won't get all the resources until you get going. If you're waiting to have all the equipment, all the resources, all the people, all the money, all the this, all the that, you're not going to have it all. You're not going to have all of those pieces in place today, but you've got to get going. And I promise you, it'll build as you go along the way. The right people will come along. The money will come. Or if nothing else, like me, you'll begin to be a better steward of the money you do have. Because if you want to accomplish what you know is burning inside of you, it's probably going to take a little bit of money. Out of COVID, I've started a little business on the side, and I didn't have all the resources. But again, just like this dirty shoes journey, I knew I needed to get going. I knew in my bones that this is what I needed to do. And slowly but surely over the last couple of years, I've begun to grow. More resources come, but I didn't have it. It barely had a dime to my name, but we're growing and the resources are coming, and I add little by little. And yes, those resources are limited, so I have to be a better steward of those resources. And that's always a good thing. Share that idea. Have you ever been in a meeting at work, right? And your boss or manager or whoever is facilitating for ideas from the team, right? And you've got this idea and you know it's a good idea, but you don't say anything. And then someone else on the team shares the very idea that you just had. And they're like, wow, that's a great idea. Let's run with that. Let's implement that. And you're like, man, I had that idea. Don't ever again get caught saying, I was going to say that. You know what I mean? For some of you, this just happened to you. For some of you, this just happened to you. Where you said, man, I was going to say that. And someone else did. Don't ever get caught saying, man, I was going to say that. Don't get caught saying that ever again. That's what I mean by move. Your ideas, they mean something. You are a gift. You're a gift in your workplace. You're a gift in your family. You're a gift in those places, in your circles. Move. Remember what I said in the last installment. Step off. If I hadn't stepped off that swimming pool platform, as scared as I was, standing there saying, God, don't let me die. God, don't let me die. I never would have taken the journey of life that I have. You know, I never would have seen Australia, different parts of Australia 3 times. I never would have seen Sicily or Spain or, spent at least one night in Japan or gone to Hawaii, or I never would have met my wife. The children that I have. I don't know, maybe some way God would have worked it out based on his designs, but my whole life would have been very different if I didn't move. Some of you know that the clock is ticking, right? We know that there's just something about the time we live in where you're like, man, I have really got to get on with it. There is no tomorrow. And you can feel that. And I mean, that is rattling through your bones right now. Move. We have been kind of stormed in. I live in the South, so we don't do snow, and we certainly don't do ice. And we've had a bit of both as of the time of this recording. So we've been kind of hunkered in all week. And I'll tell you what's happened. Because I've been hunkered in, I've had to do a little bit of work from home. But I've written a book. I wrote a book in 2 days. Now, I have had people share with me. Again, I'm a person of faith. And based on what we believe, people can kind of give you a nugget, give you a word of encouragement. I have had friends, family members, members of my church, total strangers, walk up to me over the years and say, I think you've got a book in you. I wrote that book. Now, surely, it's probably going to wind up being a bit of a mini book. And now I'm in that phase where I got to figure out what to do next. I've written it. I've got it in my computer. I'm ready to run with it. So I'll be working on that over the coming days. but to be able to write it in 2 days and feel so good about it. It doesn't matter to me whether anyone on the planet reads it. I just had to get it out of my belly. Someone out there has already got a book in their belly. You've got a book, you've got an invention. Listen, for my inventors out there, get to work. Start back to work. If you've already got it created and you haven't found any takers yet, or you're having trouble getting it patented, or whatever the case may be, and you've kind of put that thing on the shelf, it's time to dust it off and get back to work. Move. You're going to make mistakes. That's just a part of it. And mistakes is how we grow. That's one of the reasons why I wring my hands. I hate taking those lumps, right? I hate taking those lumps. But I'll share this with you. In the last 6 or 7 months or so, well, probably the last 6 months, I have gotten my teeth kicked in more because of my hand wringing than I would have if I had just gone ahead and moved with the decisions and the choices that I thought were right. If I had been willing to take more risks. You will sometimes get your teeth kicked in a lot more by being frozen in place than by being willing to take a couple of calculated risks. We're going to make mistakes, and I'm at a point in life where I'm willing to make those mistakes because it's time for me to get it going. Miles Monroe, I love listening to him. Miles Monroe once said something that absolutely astonished me. I'd never heard anyone make a statement like this. He said, "Don't die old, die finished." I recently heard the testimony of a pastor out of Africa. He shared his testimony of, the story of his life. And he came to faith, or really got to experience a deep conversion through a young lady who was younger than he was at the time. She was 19 years old when she, brought faith to him in a deep and very radical way. It was 19 when they met, and he had that conversion experience. She died 3 years later at 22 years old. And as he shared that, there was not so much a sadness about it. In fact, there was a joy. This was an example of a young lady that she didn't die young, she died finished. And listen, I know when Dr. Monroe shared that statement, he wasn't saying don't be a good steward of your body. As a matter of fact, I've listened to several of his talks and messages, and he was an absolute advocate for being a good steward of your physical body, taking care of yourself. His point was, don't be a hand wringer. Don't hold back from the designs you've been put on this earth, the purposes you've been put on this earth to do. Don't worry so much about living to be 100. Don't die old, friend. Die finished. So you've got to get to work today. I don't care how old you are. If you're a 19-year-old and you've stumbled across this episode, you got to get to work. If you're a 59-year-old, 69-year-old, and you've got some unfinished business, take care of your business. Avoid fake humility, that sort of false humility that passes what you've been given to do on to someone else that you think is more capable or equipped or has more of the it factor than you do. Whatever this is, whatever is kind of radiating inside of you, it's for you to do. Don't hand it off to someone else. Certainly they may be capable. Certainly they may have more, I guess, for lack of a better word, credentials and qualifications than you do. But this was placed in your heart, in your belly. It's not humility to pass on what God has placed in your heart to do. It's your assignment. It's your assignment. Fix your attitude. Fix your attitude. For my complainers out there, I am sorry. Your time is up. No one will hear. If you are a I don't know, a habitual complainer. There's this show, and I'm going to date myself a little bit. I'm going to date myself a lot. There's this show I used to like. It was called Hee Haw. Hee Haw's been off the air for a number of years now. And it was kind of a country variety show. Really good, and really, when you think, kind of corny, but it was really good. And each week they would have this one segment, this one sketch where you got these guys, kind of a barbershop band. I don't know what you want to call them, but they would always sing this song called Gloom, Despair, and Agony on Me. Every week you'd see they'd be moaning and complaining about how rough life was. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Have you heard that? Have you caught yourself saying that? That time is over. No one will hear, friend. So you've got to fix your attitude. You've got to decide that, listen, I'm going to stop complaining about life. I'm going to have a great attitude. I can win. I can succeed. So I'm going to right now, not tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. I'm going to do it today. You're not a victim. Oh, everyone's got their victim card nowadays. Surely there's someone out there that's victimized me. Listen, if you're convinced that you're a victim, I refer you back to my last statement. Your time is up. No one will hear. You are not a victim. You can be victorious in life. You've got to set down offenses and bitterness, and this person did that to me, or this person did that to my people, or this. You don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. And you make yourself a really horrible person to be around. If you look around and you see no one, if you feel alone, I would start there. Number one, do you complain a lot? And number two, are you constantly having a pity party because somebody's hurt you? Are you constantly a victim? Time is getting short for all of us. For all of us. And it's not that anyone is trying to be mean to you. It's not that they don't have compassion. It's that they don't have time. Wow, let me say that again for somebody in the back. If no one is listening to you, it's not because they don't have compassion. It's because they just don't have the time anymore. Decide today to go, to step off now. You got to do it. You've got to do it now. Whatever you've been procrastinating on this morning, go do it now. Do it now. Take care of your affairs. Take care of your affairs. And watch what happens. I'm excited for my future, and I'm excited for yours. If this resonated with you, or if something I said kind of touched a nerve, dirtyshoes02@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your story. I'm a big boy. I'll lick my wounds if you go pretty heavy on me. I thank you for listening to me today, and look forward to our next time together. God bless you, and remember, life is short. Life is short, but there's plenty of it to be lived. Take care. Make it a great day.